Hello guys, welcome back to my channel Big Amplitude. Here I am with another question on share capital. What's the speciality of this question? If you can see in this case, 80,000 equity shares were issued at a case of 10 plus 4. So that is 10 was the total equity share capital and 4 was the security premium. And this security premium was not payable in one case, rather it is payable in the division part. So here it is given that on application total amount payable was rupees 8, which includes rupees 1 of security premium. So rest 7 is of equity share capital, right? And he says in the question it's given that the balance on allotment is payable. What is the balance? 14 minus 8. What sum is payable on allotment? That is rupees 6 is payable on allotment. 14 minus 8, that is 6. Right? Out of 6 now, what should be the amount of premium? Premium is for 1 in your application. Leftover premium is of 3. First of all, you will consider your premium. So 4 minus 1, it is 3 is the premium amount. So 6 minus 3, what is the equity share capital balance? That is rupees 3 in this case. So first of all, the speciality of this question is that here the security premium of rupees 4 was not totally on allotment or on application, rather it was in the divisible proportion. Secondary thing is over here, the shares forfeited for 2000 but were reissued only with number 1500. So let's see how we have to attempt. First of all, the number of shares for which we have to attempt the question is 80,000 shares we have to start for the question. So first journal would be, guys, that is bank account debit to equity share application account. Now equity share application account is taken for 80,000 multiplied by what value we have to take on application, that is rupees 8. That you have to write for your help only, right? If you are not writing like this, later on you would be confused what to take or what to leave. So for your betterment, take it for the full value. So being application money received here, so it is received with 6,40,000 rupees. Okay. Now this 6,40,000 is to be transferred to which account? That is your application account, right? Application account is to be transferred to which account? That is your capital account. And here 8 rupees was of the application, 7 rupees was of the capital, and 1 rupee was for securities premium account. Okay, so being application money transfer to capital and security premium account, this is your second entry. But with what amount we have to take? That is on 80,000 number of shares. So 8 rupees multiplied by 80,000, it was due with 6,40,000. Premium was due with 80,000 and your capital was due with 5,60,000. So this is how our second part is done, second journal is done. Now we have to due for equity share allotment account debit to equity share capital and to securities premium reserve, right? Because on allotment we have to make it due for how much sum? That is 6. Equity share allotment is due for 6 on 80,000 shares. Out of this 6, 3 is for capital and 3 is for premium. So 3 into 80,000 is for equity share capital account, and for security premium it is also 3. So this goes with 2,40,000, 2,40,000, and the debit is equals to the credit being allotment due. I have told you that if there is something cause in arrears, we will consider that only in the bank entry. So here the bank entry is given that shares were fully subscribed and allotted except on 2,000 shares allotment money was not received. So when we have to receive here our allotment money, how many shares were not able to make the payment of your allotment? They were 2000 shares. With what allotment was? Allotment was due with 6, right? So 2 equity share allotment. We made a due entry for 4,80,000 rupees, but we could not receive 12,000 rupees. So how much is received here? That is 4,68,000 rupees is received here. Right? Being allotment money received and calls in arrears. Now the point is, that is where the shares were forfeited. Now in the last video I have told you that shares would be forfeited for equity share capital called up and securities premium not received. This you have to make a stamp in your mind that equity share capital account on the case of your forfeiture would be debited with the called up value, right? What was the called up value? These were fully called up. Total amount was called till yet. So what was the fully called up value? That is 10. On 2000 shares, capital was called up with 20,000 rupees, right? Now, securities premium account debit. Security premium account is to be debited on 2000 shares with the value of premium not received. What is the value of premium not received? Application they pay, but allotment money is not paid by them. So if allotment money is not paid by them, what is the premium on allotment? That is of rupees 3. So how much premium we have to debit? That is of 6,000 rupees. 2000 multiplied by 3. The left is shares forfeited account, and the next one is yours calls in arrears account. So shares forfeited account is to be taken while considering calls in arrears were 12,000, which you debited here, now credited with 12,000. So that was 2000 into 6, right? So you can get your share forfeited as to be the balancing figure here, 26,000 minus 12,000, that is 14,000. Or you can take it 10 plus 3 less 6, that is how much value? 7. So 2000 into 7. So you can take that also, right? So this is how shares are forfeited. In case your shares forfeited is to be considered for 2 parts of the security premium, then it would only be debited for the part which is not received, not with the full value of SPR. Now, the next point is these shares were forfeited and later on not the full shares were reissued. Out of 2000 shares, 15 shares were reissued and 500 are still forfeited, still linked with the firm, right? So 1500 shares which were forfeited, we will receive the money on their reissue. So equity share capital shares are going out, how many? That are 1500. They are reissued at 6 per share for the fully paid up value, right? So they were with the total value of 10 and paid up value is given for 6, right? So here 15,000 amount of the share and 15,000 into 6 is 9,000 rupees. So what is the loss on the reissue? The loss on the reissue of 1500 shares is shares forfeited account debit, because the loss is to be debited here on reissue to the share forfeited account. On 1500 share, 10 minus 6. Debit should always be equals to credit. Credit is 15, so how much should be given a debit for? 6, right? So here it is 1500 into 4 gives you a value of 6,000, right? So that is 10 minus 6, that is 4. Now the case is that how much is to be transferred from share forfeited account to the capital reserve account. This is a major important point to be taken here. So let's see over here what's actually we are having in the forfeiture account. So first of all, the credit of share forfeiture account is having 2000 shares and the amount on 2000 shares is rupees 14,000. I'll tell you two methods to do that. Okay. So this is 2000 shares is having 14,000. But how many number of shares were reissued? That they were 1500. So out of the total credit, I want to know how much is the gain on 1500 shares only. So we have to follow which method? Cross method, cross multiplication. 14,000 multiplied by 1500 divided by is 2000. Okay, so that will give you a value of 10,500, right? So 10,500 is the credit value for your 1500 number of shares. And what is the debit value for 1500 number of shares? That is 6,000, right? So how much amount is to be transferred to capital reserve is rupees 4,500. Credit gain minus debit loss will give you amount of transfer to the capital reserve. This is the case where your number of forfeited shares were not equals to your reissued number of shares. Then we take that this 6,000 value was, this 14,000 value was on 2,000 shares. So 14,000 divided by 2,000 on how many number of shares we need for 1500, that is 10,500. What was the debit balance here? Loss was of 6,000. So we deducted loss from gain, so rest is transfer. Another way to do it. See, for this entry you will take the number of reissued shares. Number, right? How many number of shares were reissued? 1500. Okay. First you will take 1500. Then what you have to do? This gain 7 minus this loss. 7 minus 4. Per share we are taking. Per share value. Okay. 7 minus 4. That is 3. So 1500 into 3 gives you 4,500. You will say this is the easiest method. Take only the reissued number of shares. Take the difference of your forfeited credit minus forfeited debit for the per share value and you will get it, and then you will multiply and get your balance. But this method is not applicable in all the cases because sometimes we don't get a round figure here. It could be 6.8, 6.85. In that very case, we have to go in for the cross multiplication method, right? So you can adopt any of the method, that is not wrong while adopting, but only it becomes difficult to adopt this method while you are having a value over here in the decimals. So in that very case, we prefer cross multiplication. Otherwise, this is the good case that you take only the reissued number of shares. Then the difference of your gain and loss per share will give you the capital reserve value, right? So here we have done the new concept in which the number of forfeited shares were not equals to the number of reissued shares, and also the premium was receivable in the parts, but the part of premium which is received by the company is not debited to your forfeited entry. Only the part of the premium which is not received is debited to your forfeited journal entry, right? So that's for the day. Thank you, Accountitude. Keep like, share and subscribe. Keep scoring.